welcome to the Filling Up podcast. We have some awesome special guests today from Astral Clocktower Studios. Their awesome game, Kristala, a fantastic, beautiful, Souls-inspired action RPG with a feline twist. So I had to get them on the channel to talk about this because this game blew me away when I saw it. Everything about it looked so damn cool. So, ladies, thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing today?
Doing well.
Good. Yeah, thanks for having us. We're excited.
Oh,
Excited to be here.
Yeah. I'm excited to have you here. It's my absolute pleasure. So I have a lot of questions I want to jump into and talk about this game. So yeah, let's just hop straight to it. So the first thing that I want to ask is, what is your background in making games? What was the reason you decided to pursue making games?
All right, I guess I'll start. I'll also introduce myself before I dive in. I'm founding owner and producer at Astral Clocktower. I've held many roles, but right now I just tell everybody else what to do. Before I got into game development, I had many different jobs. I did a bunch of different things because when I was younger, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But my most steady career before this was I was a software programmer. I hated it. It was miserable. Made good money, but I just, I didn't enjoy it. So I would spend a lot of my time outside of work playing video games. I think I was playing Bloodborne, and I was really obsessed with Bloodborne. And at the time, I was really also particularly miserable with what I was doing with my job, with my life and my job. So I decided to start teaching myself because I thought to myself while playing, like, man, I'd really like to make a game like this cool. So I started teaching myself, realized that if I didn't have some sort of like fear or threat of losing something held over me, I was never going to have the energy to actually fully teach myself. So I went back to school for a bachelor's of science in game programming, and I met Tiffany there, and that's when we started the studio together soon after that. So that's what got me into game development.
So Tiffany, what about you?
I'm Tiffany. I am lead level design, and kind of similar to Ellie, minus the programming job. I've always played games. Like some of my like earliest childhood memories is playing video games with my brother, and that was like the one time that we weren't fighting and trying to like murder each other. So it was like the happy memories of my childhood.
Family.
And so, never really thought of it as a career that I could be into. And before this, I was a veterinary technician for like, I don't know, in between 15 to 20 years, depending on where I was at the time. So, then decided one day after talking to my dad, like, hey, this would be a really cool career to get into. And I've always been like super fascinated with level design. So here we are. Allie and I met, and the rest is history. So.
And I'm Sarah. Hi, everybody. So at the software programming job that Allie was, by the way, I'm our marketing director. I'm not a developer, but I'm the third owner and our marketing director. But at that software programming job Allie was talking about, I happened to meet her there. I was the marketing manager at that company. And funnily enough, I heard her having a conversation with one of our coworkers about cats. And I just kind of literally inserted myself into this conversation.
Oh, cats, you say?
I was like, okay, there's another young woman working at this job and she's into cats. Like, I have to know her.
We are now friends.
Yes, exactly. But we literally, like, I don't know if you've ever, as you get older, it's tougher to like meet people that you just instantly connect with. And I had that connection with Allie, which was incredible. And yeah, anyway, so like she was like, I'm starting this game studio with my friend, and like we want marketing to be a huge focus from the beginning. Like, do you want to like join and be our third partner owner? And like, funnily enough, I never thought about working in the gaming space before then. I mean, I had been a marketer for over 10 years at that point, but I'm so glad I said yes. This is like the most fun industry to work in. Kristala is so fun to brand and promote. And yeah, it's just kind of crazy how we got here, but we're here.
It's really, really awesome game. I saw some comments on Twitter and people were saying funny things. It's like, it's a Khajiit game. It's Cat Assassin's Creed. I
like that one better.
I do.
Yeah, I actually thought of that today and I was like, I'm going to use that. I'm going to say that.
It is cool because we would usually get the cat souls, which of course we love too. But like, yeah, the first time we heard the Cat Assassin's Creed, we're like, all right.
We're like, all right, okay, cool.
Yeah. People are getting it. Yeah.
People are seeing it. Yes.
I love it. One of the things I really like about the game is the behavior of the cat that you play. It actually mimics real cat movement, and that was that difficult to nail down, because that's so cool.
Yes.
Short answer, yes.
No, yeah, we went through this period of time where like we it took us a bit to really land on what we wanted the feline to look like. She started out looking much more cartoony and like cutesy, and not really super cat-like at all, because, you know, earlier on when we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do, we knew we wanted to include cats and that we wanted these like souls-like elements. But we were worried about how difficult it would be as a smaller indie studio to really lean into the cat thing. So like for a while in Kristala, you couldn't jump, which makes no sense. And, you know, and things that were really just, you know, common tropes in Souls games that made sense, that don't make sense in a game about cats. So, you know, we got a lot of feedback from publishers over the years when we were pitching the game, that like, you know, this is a cool idea, we like it, but the cat doesn't feel enough like a cat. And like it was a constant battle. Okay, how can we make her feel like a cat? We'd go back to the drawing board and, you know, change her design and change her movement style and come back and we'd get the same exact thing. So actually it's pretty freaking awesome now to actually hear that, like, oh, she feels like a cat. Well, thank God, because we've been trying for 5 years to make her feel like a cat.
You're just sitting there. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna like adopt a bunch of cats. I'm gonna be a crazy cat lady, and I'm gonna sit here and I'm just gonna watch them.
Just videotape.
Figure out how to make a damn cat move.
I was gonna say
we were already crazy cat ladies. I actually, part of the reason why cats were our focus as well, it was funny because Tiffany came up with the idea initially for like a different game that was
still cats.
Still about cat. It was like a cat adventure game. It was like a simple side scroller kind of thing. But we were in school, like learning about how to work in Unreal Engine and doing 3D art and all this stuff. So it seemed a little weird for us to then go into a 2D game. So we kind of made some changes, and then I ended up taking over and soulsifying it because that's just, you know, what happened. But oh gosh, I forgot my point there. I lost it right in the middle of the sentence. What was I saying about the cats? Oh, right. Tiffany and I both worked in the veterinary field at different points in our lives before getting into this. And I've been rescuing cats for like the better part of a decade. I have 15 of them right now. So I didn't have to become a crazy cat lady.
You're like, check
that should be a shirt. You should get that shirt. I didn't have to become a crazy cat lady. I chose to. And then just have you
it just naturally was. Just a normal part of my personality.
Cats.
I'm so sorry. I was gonna say, like, we were talking about Khajiit earlier though, but that is one of the things, like, we get that all the time, right? But like, we can't wait for people to play Kristala because like the Khajiit are kind of just like humans with cat faces, right? They don't really.
I know. They never acted like cats in the game. It's like, okay,
they're just humans with cat faces.
That's pretty much every single character in that game. They don't have any unique traits or abilities that are like a cat or anything like that. So it just felt kind of like, okay, I'm just choosing what I look like on the outside, but it doesn't matter because nobody sees my face in that game anyway.
True. You know, and the funny part is we've been getting that so much lately. I have literally never played more than the first 10 minutes of Skyrim. and I've never touched Elder Scrolls. I didn't even the Khajiit were
Blasphemous.
not even the Khajiit were not even in my mind when we came up with these characters. Like, and then so now we keep getting it. It's like, shit, forgot about the Khajiit. Like I forgot they even existed.
Oh,
And
I like
it was like,
Khajiit.
oh well. But like you know, part of the reason why I didn't play it was because I played all of the Souls games before playing Skyrim, and I kept hearing people telling me I should play it. But then I went and played, and if you play that level of like really streamlined combat, and then you jump to like first person clunky
Ooh, it's
melee,
so-
I was like, I don't know if I can get myself to enjoy this. This is like annoying. Like,
Yeah, and
ah.
I feel like the other part of it is like there's just, you know, that feeling where everybody is so excited about this one thing that it kind of makes it not that cool. That's how Elder Scrolls and Skyrim and a lot of Bethesda games are, because it's like, OMG, you have to play it, and then you play it and you're just like, I
Like,
don't
cool.
get the point.
That was underwhelming. I
Yeah.
played the shit out of Skyrim for like a real long time. You know, but
I
playing
actually-
that back now, I'm like, oh god.
I actually put 100 hours into it.
Mm.
I didn't even start the main quest line, so no dragons were in the world to bother me. I got to just go to their
That's
nest and loot whatever. And then
Oh,
I
that's amazing.
stumbled upon the Elder Scroll and got it, and I was like, why is this dungeon like 5 hours long? What is going on? And then I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to play this anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I just
It's actually
deleted
really
my
funny.
save and turned it off. I was like, whatever.
It's like,
That's
That's good.
hilarious. Yeah, I got to like fighting a skeleton in a dungeony thing
And
while
you're
I was
like,
leaving.
all the dungeons are like so similar. It's like, ugh, got another
my
dungeon
goodness.
here.
Though
we
I will
go
say,
again.
I absolutely love the Fallout series. Fallout 3 and Fallout
I do
4
too.
and New Vegas. Those are some of my favorite games ever. So I mean, I thought that's what part of the reason why I was like, oh, I'll definitely like Skyrim. But there's a different,
No.
you know, they do much better at first person shooting
Mhm.
than the melee. And combat's a big thing to me. That's why the combat in Kristala has been, you know, we've been streamlining it to death, and we'll continue to do so until the day it's done.
I did want to ask, besides Souls, what are other influences and inspirations that you took into making Kristala?
Let me think about this. This is a good question. At the time we started putting the game together, I was playing Zelda. What were we playing? But the newer, not the one that just came out, but the first one that was on Switch. The
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the
Breath
Wild.
of the
Thank you.
Wild.
Yeah. So there's definitely a little bit of inspiration there. Further, there's also the Dark Crystal series and Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Um,
I can see
non-game
that.
inspirations, but also inspirations. What else was there? There's a lot of other things that Hyper Light Drifter is a big one because
Oh,
there's
I love
the
that.
soundtrack of that game.
Soundtrack is so good.
I don't know why, but it makes me feel so nostalgic. Like I listen to some of it, it makes me cry. And it was one of the things that, like, when we were coming up with how we were going to do the soundtrack for Kristala, a lot of Souls-like games don't really, like, they do epic boss tracks, but then in between it's pretty much silent and ambient noise. So like, you know, like when you get into Yharnam and Bloodborne, you hear like coughing and shouting. It's not really music.
Yeah.
And I wanted to differentiate there. So we have ambient noise too, but you do occasionally hear musical themes. And I think that came specifically from Hyper Light Drifter. There's also Jedi Fallen Order. I really enjoyed that they had unique traversal abilities in that game. And which apply very nicely to a cat. So, you know, we definitely took some inspiration there. There's a bunch of other ones that I'm like brain farting right now. Just because we're on the
Neo,
spot.
for sure.
Oh,
With,
yeah,
like,
Neo,
the-
Neo, yes, Neo is a big one.
Okay. I
Yeah.
love Neo. I don't like the fact there's no jump button in that damn game.
Mhm.
They put a jump button in Wulong, but it's like really, really simple.
Mhm.
really basic. But
Well, it's because
love...
when you add jumping to a game, it adds a whole new level of complexity, and that was why we were hesitant to do it too. But it was like, how can we not do this in a cat game?
Yeah.
We have to lean into it and just deal with it. But admittedly, it's it adds a whole new level of complexity to bug testing, to level design, to everything you do. It completely changes the way you look at the game design. So I don't blame them for keeping it simple. It is pretty cool. They also flashified it though in Wolong, I will say. Like like every time you jump, you feel really cool. So Wolong has been as we've been going through some of the we were playing it as we were going through some of the deciding on how we were going to animate things like finishers and jumping and making sure things are, when you have a cat, being flashy is kind of a big thing. But also in general, I would say my biggest influence in general has been ninjas or shinobi in video games, because they move the most cat-like. They were probably the best reference because, as we said before, Khajiit don't really give you much reference for movement. It's just, it's just,
human walking,
a human with a cat face. So ninjas have been big. I would, like we say all the time, Kristala is like a blend between Assassin's Creed and Sekiro, I would say, more so than it's like, obviously there's classic Souls-like elements that are present in all those, in Sekiro and Neo and Wolong. But I would say it's like a Sekiro Assassin's Creed baby.
There's so many cool working and moving parts in it, and I'm glad y'all included the jumping, because that really does add so much more to a game. And like you said, a cat game without the ability to jump, it just seems kind of weird.
That would be odd. But you have to go through phases of development where you learn from what your mistakes and build on top of it. And so we've done quite a bit of that.
We had to be ready for it. Then we made it happen.
I'm glad we had the chance to kind of like mess up when it was on nobody's dime.
So I want to ask, what is the hardest and the most challenging thing about making video games for your team?
Okay, so when you have a high aspirations like we've had from the get-go to make a game that looks, maybe AA, AAA, just by being a smaller indie team, the biggest challenge is finding people who can do that, right? Like finding people with that skill level who aren't already snatched up by somebody like Bethesda, right? So there's that. But luckily we've been super lucky, and that's part of, one of the many advantages of having a worldwide team. If we were in one central location trying to find people, I think that would be impossible. I don't think we would have been able to pull it off. We would have a 3-person team right now probably. So
how many people are currently working on your team?
I don't pay attention to who's on my team. I'm kidding. There's 33 of us right now. So some of them are some of those people are interns. That we take on students and like people who are learning different facets of development on a regular basis, and let them have them work with us and teach them stuff. I don't remember exactly how many of our team are full-time versus being, student interns who are learning. There's probably at least 27 full-time developers, though. I would guess.
Still, even with a team of around 30 people, the game that y'all have been able to make is so damn impressive. It looks AA, close to AAA quality, or could, and I'm definitely impressed by it. So I did want to talk a bit about the Kickstarter, because I know that is coming up very soon, and I was just curious, what is your funding goals and hope for the Kickstarter, and how much do you really think the game needs to make it everything that you want it to be?
That's a loaded question.
There it is.
$1 jillion.
The answer rather is difficult to respond.
We haven't fully settled on what the goal is going to be yet, so it's kind of hard for us to answer on that. We're still working out the decision on that, because here's the thing: you can't actually put what you want on a Kickstarter, or you won't, like, cause if your goal is high in general, right? Like to make all of Kristala, I'd probably want, at least 1.5 million, right? And that's for a lower scoped version of Kristala. But the Kickstarter isn't necessarily to get that full goal, because that's like winning the lottery, right? So it's to get us to be able to do a simple early access release at the bare minimum. So that's what we're still working out exactly what we'd need for that. But even so, even at that rate, you don't necessarily want to put that number as your goal, because first off, you have to make sure you're going to get any of the money you have raised. So, even if all we ever raised was, 10 grand, right? I'd want to make sure we got that 10 grand, but it's risky with Kickstarter, because if the way it works is it's all or nothing. You either meet the goal or not. Plus, if you set the goal too high, and then you do meet it after a few days, but maybe Kickstarter doesn't feature you because it took a few days for you to meet your goal, well, then that's probably all you're going to get. You're going to get that kind of bare minimum number. So, I mean, over the years, when we've been pitching to publishers and investors, we pitch multiple scopes. So there's the lowest possible scoped version of Kristala, and then there's like the ultimate version of what we would do if we actually got exactly what we wanted, right? That ultimate version is about a $5 to $8 million game. The lowest scoped version is 1 to 1.5 mil. So, but to release early access, we don't need anywhere near that much. You're just going to get a lot less game, and it's going to take a while. We have to hope it sells so we can keep making you more game.
Right.
Making video games is really, really difficult, especially if you're having a hard time getting the word out. I recently interviewed another developer. They're making a really awesome game, Tales of Centropolis, and they had their Kickstarter and they didn't get successfully funded, and it was really sad, because their game is really, really cool, and hopefully they can come back stronger from that and try again at a later date. But you did talk about publishers, investors, and I know that IGN recently showed off the game on their YouTube, which is really cool. Has any publishers or investors reached out about the game and wanted to help with it?
I mean, they've certainly reached out. They haven't wanted to help with it, no. One did. One that we're considering right now. It wouldn't quite reach what our goals were, but it's better than absolutely nothing, obviously. And we're not excited about that. We're very happy about that. But in general, actually, I should have said that's probably been, in terms of development, the development is easy. We can do that. We're good at that. It's obvious that we're pretty good at that. And we can say, we do what we can say we can do. The hardest thing has been business development. I mean, I've gone all over the world meeting with publishers, and I've been doing it for years. And I think most studios, even with lesser quality games, have gotten deals by this point.
We think some of the problem is, although we have like super talented and experienced team members on the team, this is our first game together as a studio. And so for whatever reason, like, we know we aimed high with Kristala, and that, we're not just making like a little 2D pixel game, which, nothing wrong with those games, but we aimed very high. And so I think that's been a lot of the issue when talking with publishers, that so many of them have been interested, but I think they're a little bit hesitant for whatever reason to say, okay, let's do this.
Let's give you this money.
I guess I can kind of understand that, because there's not a lot of smaller teams, indie teams that are making a game this big and this ambitious, unheard of. So I guess I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, it's like, this is amazing. Why? Like, why wouldn't you just take that chance?
Well, I mean, because that's the thing. They're extremely risk averse. So that's why, like, you see in the entertainment industry is like this in general, right? Like, that's why there's 4 sequels to the same movie. They already know that does really well. Or like, you know, instead of making new games, they remake the same games that already were successful because people they're counting on that nostalgia. They'd rather put their money there than somewhere a little bit experimental because, you know, that's what's safe. And that's why that's exactly what I hear gamers complaining about all the time in the games industry. Like they're just being force fed the same things over and over again by AAA publishers and studios because they don't want to push anything that might be slightly risky.
Yeah, we're in the age of remakes now. It used to be remasters on like PS3 and 360. Now it's just remakes, and it gets so exhausting because
it's boring.
It's
very boring.
And then all the games that come out now feel like they borrow everything from some other game that came out like 10 years ago. And it's like, okay, we're having that Gears of War sprint run cover mechanic again for the millionth time. I'm over it. Or everything had to be an open world game after like Skyrim came out. And I was like, please.
True.
Stop.
And I don't even like open world games that much personally.
Because they're never filled with enough stuff. There's always like a barren wasteland or a fetch quest or something like that.
It's all distractive stuff where you do the same thing, little side quests over and over again a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I cannot handle that because I have to do every little thing. So then I get bored because I'm
completionist, but bored.
I honestly get really frustrated too with a lot of games that come out because it's just like, okay, this game franchise has gone on too long. Can you please end it now? Because now you have ran out of ideas and it just feels like there's no heart or soul left in it. When I remember, because I'm going to be 37 on the 25th, and I remember being young, growing up with the PS1, PS2. Oh, thank you. And I remember back then, these big AAA companies, they took a chance. They created new IPs and these games that were so cool. And it does get a little sad for some of these companies. I recently saw, even with Armored Core coming back from FromSoft, which I didn't see that happening. It's been forever since the new Armored Core. And I already saw big YouTubers comparing it to Souls, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, maybe they're gonna have some of those mechanics or things they've learned over the years from making mostly action RPGs, but it's Armored Core and you're trying to push it as a Souls-like game, and it's like, it's almost like the fan base is kind of making the companies go in this one direction forever. And they never get to try anything new or bring back an old IP that we haven't seen in 20 years. And it's just kind of sad when that happens, because the most unique games we get now are from indie studios or small developers making their dream game. And it's sad when those games don't get the funding or the attention and love they deserve.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes, definitely. I get it. They want to make sure that the audience is there and that people are gonna buy, but like sometimes you just gotta take a chance, like especially if someone's already built up, a meager but sort of impressive audience, and they're keeping going, and it's frustrating. I agree.
What is the most important thing to you that you want people that play your game to take away from the experience? What do you want them to truly love and appreciate about your game?
In general, I would say one of the biggest facets of Kristala that we have tried to focus on is in regard to one of my biggest complaints about Souls-likes in general, and it's that the stories are often underdeveloped and hard to follow. And like there are times when I've even gone and researched them outside of the games, and I still am like, what? What does that even mean? Like, and it's happened a few times. So one of the big things that I wanted out of Kristala was this to be, while there is that really good, refined combat and satisfying gameplay, that you got a really satisfying experience out of the story. If you wanted it to be, you also have the opportunity to just be like, I don't really care, and you don't have to pay attention at all. That's one of the beautiful parts of these kinds of games, I would say, is that if you're not somebody who gives a crap about story, you don't have to. But if you are, I want you to come out of it like, yeah, that story really blew my mind and I really enjoyed it. And I want to play again so that I can see if I can make it have a different outcome, because you will have the ability to have, different outcomes and affect the story through your choices.
What about you, Tiffany?
For me being, in level design, I wanted the game to be like just visually gorgeous, like appealing, and people just be like, feel super immersed in there. So lore is super important as well, but we also try and tie that into like, how we set things up in the level will reflect like certain things that are, have to do with the lore. So yeah. So I think the very, very most important thing for me would be when, how when you end a game and it's just really good and you're just like, damn, I love
like
that so much
about it.
Yes, that's what I want. I want people to be
love
sad.
And hate that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad.
I want people to be
so
sad that
good.
it's over.
Yeah, it was so good. You don't want it to end, but it ended anyway.
Yeah. And it's just like so satisfying, and just like you're kind of bummed at the same time. But like that's, I think for me, that would be like the biggest, like, good job,
Yeah. What about you, Sarah?
My answer was literally that last part of what you said, Tiff, definitely touches on mine. Like, if I try and think about like a video game that I just absolutely loved, it's every part of it. It's the story, it's the gameplay and the combat, it's the music, it's the way that it makes me feel. And Allie, like you were talking about, like the music of Hyper Life Drifter, like bringing you to tears. Like when a game can like make you feel like that, I think it leads to what you were talking about, Tiff, where it's like, I'm really sad that that's over and I just want more. And so if bottle that feeling, that's my answer for sure.
A lot of games seem like they come out now and they don't give you that, and it's kind of sad because video games are an art form. They're a work of art. Someone put their blood, sweat, tears, hours of their life away from their family and their friends and their social life, and you hear about crunch happening in the industry a lot, and some people overworked, underpaid, having mental health and physical health issues to make these games, or a lot of them come out, and it's just like, where's the heart? Where's the soul? What happened? Why does this just feel like a microtransaction cash grab or a live service game with no real purpose other than just to get your money? And we need more games like that. We need more games that truly make you feel something. And I really hope when people play this game, they get that from Kristala.
Same.
For sure.
Obviously, y'all see all those games back there behind me. And I'm a big physical game collector. So I wanted to ask, would you actually want a physical copy of your game made? And if there was ever a collector's edition or some kind of special edition, what items would you want to put in it?
Okay. First answer to the question is absolutely yes. I'm also a physical games collector. I prefer to get physical copies for my consoles, like whenever it's possible. It's not always possible, but I would definitely like that. Again, I mean, that comes down to funding and being able to actually do that. But if we're able to do it, we will. Okay. In terms of a collector's edition, I think it'd be really cool to do like a special edition release where we had like a statue of someone really, like a collectible statue that you can only get in that version of one of the more important characters, like maybe Atreus Stone or Dava Nachitra.
Yeah.
He's the
Those are cool.
three-eyed black cat in our trailer. I think that would be super badass. Personally, one of my favorite collector's editions, or was it a pre-order bonus? I don't remember what it was, but one of my favorite ones that I got was from Sekiro, and how I had this. They give you this cute little.
I had that.
Yeah, the little letter opener sword thing. I use it all the time. I love that thing. Like, I'll use it just because. Yeah.
I can attest to use it.
I always like maps. Oh, sorry, Sarah.
No, go ahead.
A map a poster of a map would be really cool. Yeah,
I think it would be cool.
I was just thinking too, it'd be cool to have like, I don't know if this is like a super cool, I'm not like a huge physical collector, but like art for each of like the clans. Like if you wanted like your favorite clan, like the special edition artwork.
Or special editions of the game for each clan. So say you really like
that
one
would
of the
be
clans.
amazing.
Oh yeah.
That would be super cool.
Like unique
Collect
cover
them all.
art.
Collect them all.
Sick.
And then if you put them all together, they make like a picture.
Or it would be cool is like maybe clan coasters. So when you're taking your drink to sit down to play Kristala, you have your clan as the coaster to put your drink on.
There you go.
Like a gaming mat or something.
A set of 6 where you get to choose. Yeah. That'd be sweet.
I really love the little save point, rest point thing. Having a little statue of that lights up with LEDs.
Glows. That'd be cool.
Would be
that
so
would be
cool.
That would be
Speaking of
super cool.
LEDs, I had to show off this. So I have this little,
There.
yeah,
cool.
and he actually lights
cool.
up. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
I really
pretty
like
cool.
that.
Yeah. He has
Very
like different
incandescent.
modes. I have a Crash Bandicoot statue that I set him next by, and they're both making the same pose, so it looks like they're both racing fun.
That's funny.
That's awesome. I met somebody recently who had a son named Solaire, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's really cool."
That is really cool.
That's pretty
Cool
cool.
name.
Yeah, not only
that.
that, he was a big fan of the acacia strain. So that's how I met him, and then he was talking about his son Solaire in this acacia strain group. I was like,
You're like,
"You're awesome."
we are friends.
As we all know, making video games is really time consuming and can be really stressful. So what do you all like to do to relieve that stress or enjoy your free time when you have it? What are some of your other hobbies that you like to do?
I am a big fan of nail art. I got into it a couple of years ago and got like obsessive about it, and I found that I'm really good at drawing or like painting really tiny, intricate designs. And like I don't know, I just got really, so it's what I tend to do if I'm not gaming. I go through periods of time where like I game a lot outside of work, and then I go through periods of time where I don't game at all, and I end up doing nail art all the time. It just really depends. Yeah, that's basically that, and like, you know, hanging out with my daughter and my cats and my puppy.
Allie makes dope nails too. She did
they're
like a
sick.
God of War set once and a Bloodborne. We'll have to show you pictures. They're really,
Oh,
They're really
yeah,
cool.
really
I'm gonna
detailed.
have to-
Like I know you probably don't get your nails done, Phil, but like they're very
But if you
Hey,
did,
hey,
they'd be
I
freaking cool.
would look at it. Speaking of that, one time, I think I was in middle school. It was Halloween, and I wanted to be a Darth Maul because I had a Darth Maul costume that came with a lightsaber, and I decided to put fake nails and paint them black on my fingers. It was a horrible experience because I could not get them off. I'm like, why do ladies do this? This is horrible. I want them off.
Because they look pretty.
You do have to adjust though, like just for
They're
like
hard.
a day or two, but like almost everything that you do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You learn to open things with your knuckles and stuff.
It took me a year to get to wearing like really long nails. I put in the chat so you could see if you wanted to. The Bloodborne set and then the God of War set. But yeah, so I
cool.
try to go for like my daughter is always bringing me really cool ideas. So I just, you know, she really loves God of War, so that's why I made her these Ragnarok nails. The Bloodborne one was all me for Halloween last year.
maybe you can make Kristala themed ones. Hey, there's an item
She
for you.
has.
There's your collector's edition item.
Exactly.
Kristala. I was gonna
yeah.
say open an SD store to help fund the game with Kristala.
Right?
I know. If only they didn't take me like 94 years per set. That's the only problem, because I'm way too meticulous. Like if you look at one of the sets that I just sent, like that Bloodborne one, I painted like teeny tiny little versions of the lamp messenger guys, and that took me a lot longer than I care to admit. It was like a 40-hour job. Because like I obsess about, and it's not just the like little artwork that I do. The other thing I obsess about is like perfectly shaped and sculpted set. Like I don't know why I'm like this, but it's a good way to get that out on something else, because you can't really be that level of perfectionist when it comes to game development.
No.
Like you can, but you can't.
It'll take too long.
I would drive myself insane. So I'm glad I can take it out on nail art, because the game would never get done.
I totally understand, because when it comes to like making YouTube videos, I am like trying to get everything down, edited just perfect, and it feels like it takes me 50 years to put out one video. And then when nobody watches it, I'm like, why did I do that? Why?
I can relate though, as a content creator. It's really disheartening when you put like a lot of time into making something. And, like,
my goodness. And also,
You're like,
it
wow,
also-
cool.
Sucks.
and you don't really want to be jealous or envious at somebody else's success, but then you see their content and it's like, they just look like they rolled out of bed and they didn't even comb their hair, and they just turned the camera on and they got like 1 million subscribers.
It's infuriating. We definitely feel that happens a lot in the gaming space as well. Like,
And you're like,
okay,
wait,
well,
what?
that game's really famous, and it's not. It probably took them 2 months of 2 guys to do together, and that's just usually how it goes, you know. And I've noticed ones like that often take off, and I'm not shitting on them, because like, if more power to them, good for them.
Good for
but
them.
It's like, damn, I wish that was me.
Yeah, I get it.
It's more like that.
So, Tiffany, what about you? What do you like to do on your downtime?
Well, I have an 8-month-old, so I have no downtime. So
Oh, okay.
Nothing.
nothing. I literally like to be able to do anything. We have like a little baby carrier, and I just put her in there, and I like to go outside, and have this weird obsession with roses. So I have a rose bush outside I'm always doing something with it. But gardening, I like gardening. So that's
my
that's
mom
my
would
hobby.
get along great, because she has like a
I love
rose
it.
bush outside and
I love
planted
it.
flowers and
Something about roses. It's probably, I know, I'm kidding myself if I'm pretending I don't know where it comes from. My grandma, my Oma, her entire backyard, I think she's got like 20 different varieties of roses, and
Wow.
like I'm very close to her, and so like a lot of stuff that I do, like, you know, she's always the root of it. So roses, that's where my obsession comes with. It reminds me of her, and it's like my happy place. And so, yeah, there you go.
That's sweet. That's sweet. So, if there is any patches of flowers or roses in the game, it was all you, and you're probably going to spend 5 million years making sure it's perfect.
I'm like, here's the garden. There's actually no roses in the game. So
What?
we might have to change that.
You're gonna have to put at least one, like a special
Oh,
item.
there's definitely a good spot for it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know there is. So
You just got to get in there and add your little touch.
I know.
Oh, is
Maybe
the
you can-
rose thorn sword still a thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Ooh, yeah. I was just gonna say some kind of rose-based weapon that would be cool. Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
play
it's
with
still a
that the
thing.
entire time.
Still a thing.
I thought so. I wasn't sure.
We just haven't decided yet how
I'm-
it will. It's not the same thing as it used to be.
What it does. Yeah.
Well, Sarah, what about you? What do you like to do in your downtime?
So I am a huge reader, so I'm always reading something. I read on my Kindle. Like I like have to read on my Kindle to go to sleep. I can't turn my brain off. And then I also recently taught myself how to crochet, so I've been really into that. And I want to learn other fabric arts. Like I want to learn to embroider. I loosely know how to sew, but I'd like to get like a lot better at it. I want to learn how to do macrame, but it is super duper relaxing. Even just like sitting in front of the TV and watching something stupid, at least I'm still like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not just wasting my time by like zoning out to something, and I'm
Multitasking.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
I
That's
wish
the
I
word
could
for that.
multitask. I'm horrible
be
at
tough.
multitask. I'm
It
like a
can be
cat. I have to focus on whatever I'm doing. I can't have distraction because I'm like, I'm I literally turned into. What is a video game that you absolutely love that has stand the test of time? That is that one game that you're like, if all the other games disappeared tomorrow, this would be the one I would save.
Everyone already knows my answer. It is Bloodborne.
They might not. We all know.
I think Bloodborne is a masterpiece because it's like this mix of like that whole Souls-like feel, but also like Victorian horror and Lovecraftian horror. Plus like it takes the parrying mechanic to a different level. Like parrying is really satisfying in any type of Souls or Souls-like game, right? But usually very hard to land. But not in Bloodborne. In Bloodborne, you have a gun, and you do this projectile parry thing. It's super satisfying. Yeah, in general, I just think it's a bomb-ass game. But if I were going to go outside of that genre, I'd probably say either Dead Space or Alien Isolation, because I'm a very big sci-fi horror fan. And those are probably the only two games in the world that have actually scared me. I love those games.
I think we just became best friends because you said like everything that I love. So yeah, big heart.
Nice. How about you, Tiff?
Yeah.
For me, I think one of the games that I can always go back to, honestly, still haven't finished it just because that's how I game, is The Witcher.
Oh yeah.
The Witcher 3. I love everything about that game. Maybe I don't fully love the combat, but good enough. But I love the environment. I love the lore. I love that game. I think it's so much fun. It's probably why I haven't finished it, to be honest with you. Because I just go and do everything else because I'm like, I'm not ready to be done with it yet. So yeah, that's probably like my all-time right now. So yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Sarah?
Me, I'm a big, I don't know, just ever since from when I was younger, I just love like action platformer. So that's like my personal jam. And we were talking earlier about those games that like bring you to like emotion and tears and you love everything about it. The music, the art style, the gameplay, the story. The Ori games from Moon Studios are that for me. And like specifically the art style, like, because that, you know, they say don't judge the book. Yeah, like don't judge the book by the cover, but just seeing that art for the first time, I was like, I need to know whatever's happening in there.
Yeah, it's really beautiful for sure.
Yeah, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah, beautiful, and the music just absolutely gorgeous. For me, I would probably say a lot of games that I played growing up with my uncle. He kind of got me into gaming, so Chrono Cross. I love Chrono Cross. The world map theme, I used to just leave the game playing and listen to that music because it always touched me. It was so beautiful. Chrono Trigger was amazing. Legend of Dragoon. Oh my gosh, there's so many awesome great games.
It's hard to choose just one for sure.
Yeah. But as an adult, definitely Bloodborne, Souls, horror games. So anyways, we're kind of coming to the end of this podcast episode. And I wanted to ask if there's any final remarks or anything that you want to say to everybody that's watching this before we go.
I will say that the Kristala demo is going to be going public on our Steam page July 14th. So keep an eye out for that. Everybody will be able to play at that point. Right now, if you wanted to play ahead of time, you can always write us and request a key at our hello@astralclocktowerstudios.com. And Sarah is going to give some great information because she's the marketing queen.
I was going to say, as our brand advocate, I must tell you. So let me just preface this by, if you go to allmylinks.com/Astral Clocktower Studios, you can find all of this. But we have obviously the Kickstarter we mentioned coming up in mid to late July. We haven't announced the date yet, but we will soon. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Go to our page now and please follow us if you want to be alerted on launch. We're going to have really cool early bird and limited reward tier rewards. So definitely do that. We also, our Discord is popping, come hang out. We have a community game night tonight, actually. So we do events like that. We have like weekly dev updates and just some cool discussion, daily discussions, that kind of thing. What else? Socials. We're on all socials at ACS Games, or on TikTok for whatever reason, Kristala Game. We changed it up for that one.
She's got that down. Me, I would have stuttered all over that, and I said,
That's why she's the marketing queen.
Yes.
I didn't write it down this time either. Normally I have it so I have written to reference.
We have our Patreon too.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes. And yeah, okay. So right now the demo is going live soon, right? But once we have a playtesting tier on Patreon, and once the demo's live for everyone, we're going to be allowing our patrons at that tier to playtest the EA release before like anyone else can. So if that interests you, check us out. It's the ancient tier on our Patreon.
Yeah, you'll basically get the opportunity to play every time we upload. Every couple of weeks, we'll upload a fresh build. Regardless of whenever the early access release ends up being finally released, that'll be accessible to whoever's in that tier.
sounds pretty awesome. Well, everyone, I want to thank you for watching this episode. I want to thank all of you for joining me for this podcast. Definitely check out Kristala. I have a link to their socials below in the description of this video. If you aren't subscribed, please can subscribe to the channel. That's how you join the One Up family. Until next time, happy gaming and collecting. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Happy gaming.
Last night, I had a vision. Stranger, traveler, share my vision. I see the crystals, our lords and masters since the beginning of time, holding the clans of Isla together. I see your proving, your journey to become one of the crystal's greatest warriors. I see a curse befalling the world of Isla, transforming its humble creatures into horrible monsters. I see our war with the Kota reaching new heights of bloodshed and misery. And I see you. You will fight the evils plaguing Isla. You will embark upon a journey riddled with action and surprise. Your powers will grow and evolve. You will build a mighty arsenal with weapons, armor, and magic. You will learn the true histories of Isla, the clans, and the crystals themselves. You will journey throughout the clans of Isla, learning their ways, gaining their powers, and protecting their citizens. Stranger, traveler, the time has come. Your destiny awaits. Take up your arms. Embark upon your journey. Become one of the Rakshaka. Traveler, please save our world.
Game over, man.
Bill One Up collects. Subscribe to join the One Up family today, and let's all one up our collections together. Happy gaming and collecting, everyone. See you real soon.